Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Hero Movie Podcast, your greatest source for superhero movie discussion in the multiverse. I'm your host, Adam Portress, and joining me today, if you see him pushing a baby cart, you know something bad's got to be going down. Sweet Shantz Kovacs on the internet.
The road to hell is paved with baby carts.
And he's a high-pressure boy, Bruce Leslie.
I'm a prickly pear, and you can't keep a good assassin down.
Oh, no, you can't, everybody. Welcome back to another month and another new episode of HMP. And as has become our tradition at the beginning of February, we continue our, Patreoning on the Februaries with Lone Wolf and Cub. We got the third series in the movie so far. Baby Cart to Hades is this one. I said the wrong one last week. I said Baby Cart in Peril last week. I thought we were ahead.
That's next year.
Ahead one. So you have an entire year to wait for that. So, mark your calendar. But it's around Groundhog Day. That's how we were always, for some reason, we were like, Groundhog Day. No. It needs to be Lone Wolf and Cub Day.
We have so few traditions on this show that I'm very pleased that we have this one.
Yeah, and it's gone well so far. So, we'll keep it up. Why not? Before we do get into all that, we do want to say a big thank you to those supporters over at patreon.com/HMP. Doesn't matter what level you support the show at, you get pre-show, post-show, Dinger Zone, and of course, get to vote on a movie we watch each month, just as we did last week. Since it is a brand new month here, we're going to do some shout-outs here at the top levels. Up here at the toppest of tops in the icon level, my, it's getting full up in here, and I love it. We've got Derek, Matt, and Tim coming in at that icon level of $40 a month. Thank you guys so much. And the executive producer level at 20 is also quite big, with Alex, Dave Fakeloni, Jens, Jessica, Maria, Nate, Noah, and I want to say Brian because this thing just messed up. Yeah, it's Brian. The spell corrected, terrible right there. And we have a new one coming in at that $5 level. Please welcome Clayton DeGainer to the HMP family here. And I consulted with Sean a little bit earlier here, and I think there was only one name that we could possibly give Clayton as he becomes a member of the HMP, and that is Dr. Forrester.
Congratulations, Clayton. Your HMP nickname is now Dr. Clayton Forrester. Good job.
It's perfect. And listen, you can put that on a card if you're on an airplane or something, and somebody says, "Is there a doctor in the house?" You can lift your hand up with confidence, and say, "I'm a doctor." Don't tell
Please
them.
Don't do that. Please don't do that.
I have a PhD in hero movies.
Start saving some lives. That's all I'm saying. Do your dirty. You've been knighted. Why not? Or at least, Dr. Evil was, or Dr. Clayton Forrester was at least an evil scientist, so you can have that going for you if you'd like. But just like that, everybody, if whatever number you think that this show is worth, put that in a dollar form, send it our way. Just imagine if we didn't show up here in your podcast feed on a Monday, what would you do to get us back? And if you can't do that, man, why don't you at least jump over to iTunes and give us a 5-star review, a.k.a. Humdinger.
Humdinger.
This one comes to us from Throwback Jedi. It's 5 stars, and it's entitled Outstanding Show. Throwback Jedi says, I was looking for podcasts reviewing a certain movie, and I stumbled upon HMP and found myself starting from the beginning and catching up on episodes. It's like if you like a podcast that's funny, informative, and unapologetic, this is it. Well, thank you so much, Throwback Jedi, for that 5-star review. And of course, wherever you find places to review podcasts, throw us a review. We really appreciate that. It's still your grandma's iPhone. You know how it works. We really appreciate that. Patreon.com/HMP. And thank you guys so much. I cannot tell you how much this means to us month after month, and the fact that you guys care enough to give back to the show is quite amazing. I would play a trailer for you this week, but as you might imagine, that's just going to be a whole bunch of weird music and stuff playing. So let's just do it this way, shall we?
It's time for Bruce's Comic Book Connection.
Well, we've done a couple of Lone Wolf and Cub movies at this point, but let's see what he's got.
Well, Lone Wolf and Cub is an internationally admired and highly influential manga written by Kazuo Koike and illustrated by Goseki Kojima. It began publication in Japan in 1970. Its first volume sold 8 million copies in Japan, which is roughly 8 million more copies than anything I've ever written has sold. And it's highly regarded due to its epic scope, its detailed historical accuracy, its masterful artwork. It maintains devoted fans to this very day. I checked this morning, and they're still out there. When I look at Kojima's black and white interior art style, the first thing that comes to mind for me is the art from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1. And this is no coincidence. Now, I may not have ever mentioned this to you guys before, but I actually sat down and talked with Kevin Eastman for about an hour once.
No, you've never said that before.
Yeah, and he told me personally, man to man, that his and Peter Laird's primary influence was Frank Miller, in particular his work on Daredevil. Now, it's impossible to look at Frank Miller's Daredevil work, and especially his art for Ronin, and not see it as an artist's love letter to Goseki Kojima. I don't know how Frank Miller did it exactly, but he got his hands on some bootleg manga because Lone Wolf and Cub wasn't officially available for purchase in North America until 1987. And when that first volume was released over here, it had special covers with art drawn by none other than the world's most fedora-clad ninja fan, Frank Miller. Now, it isn't just the art that's left its mark on fans. The story's quite remarkable as well. At its first glance, it's an awesome tough guy against the world revenge story, but then a child's thrown into the mix. Seemingly out of place and discomforting, the Cub slowly begins to give this story of revenge layers of depth and consequence that are all too absent in violent comics. Ogami Ito is the Shogun's executioner, and when he's betrayed by power-hungry rivals who murder his wife, he's left thirsty for blood, but with an infant son at his side. He gives the wee lad a choice between the blade and the ball. The Cub chooses the blade, and the duo set off on the road to hell as the murder-for-hire duo known as Lone Wolf and Cub. So speaking of the road to hell, Adam, do you have a list?
Oh, I've been paving it with all of these good intentions, and it's smooth as silk, let me tell you. Because if that comic connection wasn't enough, let me sell everybody on this third in the Lone Wolf and Cub series, because this movie has everything. Slow boat rides, hats on hats on hats on hats. So many hats. You like hats? You're going to love this movie. There's so many hats. Kids pooping in the woods, lightning fast sword play, a banging 70s soundtrack. We got river bathing, diaper wearing, head knocking, tongue biting, tea drinking, floor tossing, dart flinging, tank dunking, head chopping, hanging, burning, snorkeling, dual wielding. Lizard curiosity, rambling, raping mercenaries, sunlit carriage stroll, chowder buckets, but not in a fun way. Sepia tone flashbacks, Voltron assassins, massive amount of 3M red blood, and a movie that is wildly violent and wildly peaceful. This movie has everything.
That rare combination of peace and violence. You just don't find that in modern films.
There's so many moments in this thing that are just this kind of serene. There's no soundtrack. It's like the soundtrack of nature. The wind is blowing through, and then in the next moment, somebody's getting a sword in the gut.
Yeah,
It is quite wonderful. But as wonderful as this show is, and as this movie is, and I love them all so far. This one will be known as the one where the kid poops in the woods.
Yes.
It will be. There's no two ways around it. And I think number 2 on the list is you mentioned the Voltron assassins. I don't quite see much of a point in that strategy of theirs, but it's definitely something I'll never forget. Hey, if the three of us ever get in a fight, I want to be the guy on top.
Well, yeah, it makes the most sense.
Like if the three of us are sent to kill somebody, we'll Voltron it up.
I would like to see the size of that trench coat.
Yeah.
A 15-foot trench coat. Just duster, if you will.
Yeah, my lord, between you and I alone, Adam, I mean, you got to go 15 feet on that thing.
It's going to be it's quite the entrance when you walk in. You let people know that you're there for sure. Did you see that 15-foot tall guy walk in?
I'd like a ticket to a rated R movie, please.
Your combined age is 158. What the hell? Just buy a ticket.
I mean, one ticket to Barton Fink.
Bart and Fink.
Now, let's talk quickly about the last two Lone Wolf and Cub movies, just as kind of a reminder of where we've kind of come from and everything. Family or wife murdered, and he takes his son, and they're going on the road on a specific trip to hell, which is always kind of has lent a nice air to the entire movie series. There was just like, where are we going? Oh, we're traveling down to hell.
You know what? This is the part that it always fascinates me with all these movies is that every single time that he explains that Ito explains that that's where they're headed, that's where they're going. The person that he explains it to always nods their head like, oh, yeah,
that does make sense. You and
Road
your
to hell,
son
right?
would be on a vengeful journey to hell.
Of course, Road to Hell, of course.
Uh-huh.
Now that we're 3 movies in, though, I start to wonder if the baby cart is becoming like Kit. Like, is the baby cart becoming the star of the movie franchise?
I think you're not wrong because it's like the utility belt in that it has whatever he needs at the moment.
It had machine guns. Like that took some forethought to put those machine guns in.
It's also water ready.
Yes, I love it that he just not only does he just throw the cart in to like float behind the rowboat, but then he puts his kid in the cart instead of in the rowboat with him.
Do you think that that's like how he got passage onto that? Was just like, listen, I'll row, okay? I'll be the guy in the back that's rowing. They got the guy in the front that ends up rowing, who's really stoked to be rowing. By the way, I don't know why he's so excited with that. It's like you got a big. That's not a small amount of people in that boat. You're going to be pulling big time, buddy.
It's like when you're a kid and you get to mow the grass for the first time. You think it's a privilege, and then 3 weeks later you realize it was a chore.
Oh, this is stupid. Why did I want to do this in the first place? This is terrible. But so he's like, so I'll just, and everybody looks at him like he's an insane maniac for, putting his child in this thing and just a simple rope right to the back.
Yep.
We'll just drag him along. He'll be fine. But
when
no
you
water
know
in the
how much
guns
gear is loaded into that baby cart, there's no way that thing's floating.
I mean, no, with the guns alone, when you see the guns open at the end, there's like, 8 barrels or something in that thing?
Fellas, if that's your issue with this...
I'm just saying the cart's about to overshine the 2 lead actors.
Sometimes when things are perfect, you have to start getting at the little nits and stuff.
I hope that thing is in a museum somewhere.
Oh, man, it belongs in a museum, Dad.
It was probably blown up at some point. They're just like, well, it's going to get on fire, so...
So do you think that the child's safety was a major concern when they were filming these films?
I don't think I could be wrong, but I would say safety in general probably took like at least a slight backseat.
Because they just throw the kid in that floating baby cart. It's kind of unsteady.
I don't think you're right on that. I think that kid is a lot safer than you probably think he is.
Good.
Only for the reason of it is of a money issue where like, look, we're gonna make 3 more of these things. Nothing can happen to that kid.
But I am going to say it's 1972 where like it was not uncommon for your mom to drive to the grocery store while you were lying on the dashboard of the car or something.
Also true.
So just in general, children weren't as safe in 1972.
Hey, can you hand me that pack of Pell-Mells while you're up there?
Yeah.
I think it's probably fine because when the lady drops whatever it is she ends up dropping in the water there, and it floats over to the baby, and the baby's cart just like tilts just at the right angle that the kid can go and reach the bag or whatever that's floating in the water. It's just like, okay, all right, there's certainly somebody underneath there making sure that kid's not going to die because that cart just turned at a 45-degree angle.
And I figure on the upside, it's like a water ride at an amusement park. It's probably less than 3 feet deep where they're filming.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it would have to be, man. With that kid, you don't want to have it be a drowning hazard.
Oh, man, that's why they cast septuplets.
I would say in comparison, though, like specifically really to the last movie, because the last movie, this kid like had, an entire arc where he wasn't even saying anything and just kind of walking around picking up stuff. And you're just like, holy crap, this kid's an amazing actor. And like,
he really is, man. I mean, even in this one, where he, by rights, all of the people who have been here since the beginning, the 3 people who have been here since the beginning of this franchise, can phone it in. Like, I'm in. You know what I mean? And they're not doing that. None of them are doing it. It's pretty great.
Yeah, and we're still keeping. I love the. And I know this is one of Bruce's favorite tropes is the kind of out of shape guy that's also still able to beat the ever living crap out of everybody else as well.
And he's not just out of shape. His hair needs a comb run through it all the time. Like his hair always looks like he just woke up, and he's always sweating, like just absolutely sweating all the time. I love how disheveled Ito is.
Is he? So I think that you might have brought this up during the first time that with the first movie, Bruce, but I read something this week where they didn't want him for the role because he was too overweight. And then he was like, well, watch this. And he like does a flip and stuff, and he starts showing off. And it sounded familiar to me when I read that. And I was like, I think that Bruce said that during the first
Yeah, because I watched an interview with the mangaka, with the writer. And he said that he was against casting this guy until the guy did a backflip on the beach, like in sand, which I guess, I don't know if that makes it easier or harder, but I can't do it. And that's when he decided, okay, we'll cast him. Because in the comics, he's a more muscle-bound, more Samurai Jack looking guy.
I think it's way better the way it is.
Oh, me too. That's why I love this show. Come on. I think every leading man should look like Ogami Ito here.
The kid doesn't have that one moment like he does in the second one where you really get to see his acting like put on a show,
Yeah.
Like in the last one where Ito's completely out and looks like, he's going to die, and the kid kind of figures it all out. And you can see through his acting that he has figured that out. And there's not really that one moment, but I guess it's just because of that moment from the last movie. Like I put so much on this kid now where even when he starts talking, because he talks in this movie, not a lot, he says a word here and there, but he still speaks, where I'm like I'm surprised when he doesn't do the thing that I want him to do at times. And I don't mean an acting performance. I mean the character of Cub, where it's like, well, why don't you just tell that lady what was going on? Like that kind of thing.
I'm going to sit here.
Yeah.
But he does have a great scene.
He does. He
has that great scene where he lures the gunfighter into the creek.
That part is great.
Because I really love the reveal where the guy jumps in and starts swimming, and then, Cubby stands up with like a big grin on his face, and the guy realizes it's like 8 inches of water, but he didn't want to get those pistols wet, so he left him on the bank. Like so a beautiful way to take the gunfighter out of the equation. I loved it.
And so much great, like over the top slow-mo and stuff like that, which is so awesome.
It's part, I really do give so much leeway to these series of movies because they're just so enjoyable. But it's a little bit of a bummer that for 90% of the movie, it's just Lone Wolf and Cub being very clever in getting by with their cleverness. And then at the end of the movie, specifically with the scene with the machine guns in the baby cart, where it's like, oh, come on, guys. You were doing so great. And now there's machine guns in the baby cart.
Couldn't you have just mowed down all these people earlier in the show?
And I remember, 80% through this movie, I'm thinking, wow, this has a lot less of the spurters I like, the blood just spraying out. This has a lot less of the violence I've come to expect from this franchise. I wonder if something was changing here. And then we get one man versus an army, and the one man wins. And they definitely made up for, there were arms and legs flying through the air because he's throwing homemade bamboo grenades or something. I mean, it really goes as it probably gives Rambo a run for its money in the body count in this one.
There's so many dead bodies. They had to get the helicopter shot to be like, we got to show everybody here. It's a huge number of just dead bodies because you think, oh, he's been killing some people, whiting out, and it's like, no, he's been killing everyone.
And we see him actually use guns for the first time. We've seen people use guns against him, but he actually had that one scene where he's hiding 2 pistols under his kimono there. And when he got cornered on the ground, pulls him out and blows the guy away.
So not to mention the machine guns in the baby cart.
Well, those don't count. The baby used those. He just pointed them. The baby pulled the trigger.
Now,
that's at least what I picked up in the last movie is all the functions in the cart are triggered by the baby.
Yeah, because
the baby was showing it off earlier. where
Yeah.
like the knives come out of the wheels and he has the blade come out of the handle.
Yep.
That felt
Just to
very
let
much
you know.
like a hey, just remember, if you didn't see any of these other films, don't be shocked when knives start popping out of this cart.
And it made me feel good to know that guns in this movie aren't very powerful, because he uses like this kind of rug that my aunt had in the 80s, like made out of rattan or something. I don't know what it is.
True.
Yeah, it just holds up this floppy rug and it blocks the bullets. It's great.
That felt like a scene where they were just like, do whatever you want to do. And he's just like, I'm going to grab these carpets. And then started throwing them around the thing. And you're just like,
Yeah.
I don't think they, put that into their thought process that he would start picking those up and throwing them around, because they don't look like they were made for it at all.
Yeah, everybody was caught off guard. That's how they got that shocked look on the actors' faces when he hit him with the rug.
For anyone who is listening to this now and you haven't seen any of these movies, I cannot tell you what sheer joy there is while you're watching them. That without fail, almost every single time that Lone Wolf shows up in a town, one, everybody knows who he is. Everyone recognizes him.
Yep.
Everyone knows who he is, and everyone's terrified to death of them. And so you'll always get this conversation. Oh my God, you're the Emperor's Grand Inquisitor or whatever. What was he? What is he?
He was
You
the
used to
Shogun's
be a-
executioner.
Yeah.
Shogun's executioner. Oh my God, you're the Shogun executioner. Oh my God, you're so terrifying. And then it cuts back to Lone Wolf, and Lone Wolf is like a sweaty, disheveled mess. And he's always like, yes, I am. 'Cause you're him.
If
So
they ever did a
impressive.
revival, Steven Seagal has the physique for this role now.
Don't you dare.
Don't besmirch it with Steven Seagal. I get it, I get it.
Absolutely not. He doesn't deserve any of that.
You're right. Plus, he'd never shaved the goatee, so he's out of here.
Well, the thing is this, though, too, is that Steven Seagal, even though, like, in theory, you're absolutely correct, he doesn't have the skills to pull it off. This guy, while a big, out-of-shape dude, is amazingly
He's
fast.
good with the sword.
He's
yes,
so
he's good with the sword.
He's elegant in his movements and everything, and he's super compact. I love it.
Steven Seagal would be the baby, and he'd never get out of the cart. That's how he'd play.
Okay,
Go, go.
now I'm on board.
I want to reboot with Steven Seagal as the baby.
The
And
ba-
Horatio Sands as Lone Wolf.
The baby has a goatee, sunglasses, these dark sunglasses, and just starts waxing philosophical on everybody and just be like, can you just kill me now,
But it's
please?
it's fake philosophy, and he's constantly eating carrots.
You see,
The carrots are the best
a
part.
bird in the hand is worth two in the bush or something.
Oh, man.
Check
So-
out the
Oh,
spin
you're the
wheels on this
Shogun
paper cart.
executioner. Oh, you're the Shogun executioner. There's something about you. I just find you so attractive.
That happens.
Very attractive as well.
Oh, man, let's get back to something a little less disgusting. Let's talk about the decapitations here or something.
Yes.
I can't handle this much Steven Seagal. I regret I mentioned those words.
Yeah, there's one, severed's not the right word, is it?
Well, severed if it means it's cut off from where it's supposed to be.
I suppose so. Severed head that looked amazingly good. And
It
there's,
does.
there's
That looked like he was wrapped in blue and was against a blue screen. I know
Right.
the one you're
It does.
talking about.
in
made me
1972 where
wonder-
they didn't have that crap, but yeah.
It made me wonder how they did it, because it must have been some sort of like process where they it's almost like a split screen, but they just split the part where his body was, probably.
Maybe, I don't
Yeah.
know. It was just like, holy crap, that's the best looking severed head
Yeah,
I've ever
It's
seen in my life.
definitely his head. I mean, it's
Yeah.
definitely his head, man.
Yeah, there. I even thought maybe they just had like a really big photograph of the background and cut a slit in it and let him stick his head through it. That's how good it looked.
That probably could have been that. I mean, man, there's no telling with these guys, but because it's just really kind of interesting the way that they shoot everything. Like, when you're watching something super cheap, I mean, even if it's something that isn't super cheap, like like most movies in the 60s when they're shooting day for night,
Yeah.
the day for night in this movie isn't something that just like angers me. You know, like they do it well enough to where at least it feels like it's night outside when they're shooting day for night.
I always think that there's something about it too that we'll always kind of forgive a little bit if it's like a story that takes place in a time that doesn't have like, you know, street lights and stuff like that. So if they do a day for night for whatever reason, sometimes it's like, well, you know, whatever. They were a low independent movie. They didn't have a lot of money. You just kind of let them go with it. But it's not as bad as like playing 9 from Outer Space where it's like daytime, nighttime,
well,
daytime,
geez,
nighttime.
man, I mean, God, you're talking about someone who had no business shooting movies, and then you have these folks who are just great at it.
Now, did you guys totally pick up? We're in 3 movies in now, and I know at least 2 of them in a row have shown us this technique. But if you want to hire Lone Wolf and Cub, from what I understand, you draw some pictures of Shrek, multiple pictures of Shrek, but you put them all on the same pole. Like normally, if you're drawing multiple pictures, you put them around town, but they put like all the pictures on one pole. And then when Lone Wolf and Cub sees it, he piles up some rocks. And then after you see the pile of rocks, then you can tell him who you want to kill. But then some people just walk up to him and hire him. Like,
I must say that I don't really understand, because I know what you're getting to here. I know the exact moments you're speaking to. I don't understand the making circles with rocks. Like, and how are they supposed to know where to find him with the circles with rocks?
I think it hasn't, like, just imagine he piles up some stones in the shape of an arrow, and then he's standing right there in front of the arrow, because it seems like he's always standing there.
Because he's not, but at one point the town folk come up on that circle, and he's nowhere to be found, and they're like, oh yes, he's agreed to do it.
I guess that's their version of a contract in case somebody doesn't want to pay you. You go, hey, look, Judge, here's the pile of rocks and the picture of Shrek. Give me my money. Maybe
because he's so out of shape and stuff. He's just like hiding behind a berm somewhere. And they're like, wait, listen, maybe we could hear him. And he's like off in the distance, like.
But in a time where you didn't have telephones or email or addresses, like how would you hire somebody at large?
The Shogun's assassin's here. I can hear his labored breathing.
I guess the cairn, what do they call it? A cairn? I don't know. The thing he builds with the rocks, it must have not only a place, but also a time, because you could be at the right place at the wrong time and he might not be there.
I don't fully understand it, which is not, you know, it's not like a barrier of entry for me. If anything, it makes it more interesting to me. I just don't understand it all the way.
I kind of want to adopt this method for appointments, though. Like in my own life, I want to tell my kids if they need something, first you got to draw some pictures and put them up around the house. Then I'll pile up some stones, which will tell you the answer.
You must decipher this stone riddle before you can know. It's terrible.
Why don't you just tell me the name of the movie you want to see?
No kidding. This movie, and you correct me if I'm wrong here, but like it didn't have like that one super standout like set piece wise. Like in the one, it was definitely like the big fountain or the waterfall and stuff like that. That was a big giant scene. This one didn't have one of those.
I think their intention was just the finale was so big.
Yeah, just all of the guys, and like that's the thing is all the guys, and we didn't have any of the weird, like the super weird guys with the hat helmets and everything that were just like those guys were wild and crazy.
Like in part 2, the guy with the Wolverine claws.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean the guy with the 2 pistols, I guess, was supposed to be going for that. And by the way, he was pretty good marksman. You know, he was shooting all those straw men perfectly. But I guess he was supposed to be that. But come on, if you got a choice between 2 pistols or Wolverine claws, pick Wolverine claws to make your movie cool.
He looks like the Japanese answer to that guy from Metalocalypse.
He does.
The guy with the guns.
I know exactly what you're talking about. That's perfect.
So how many? Okay, all right. So with this one though, at the same time too, they also didn't have the like another like weird crazy element that I liked, and I want to see more of this just because it just goes. What's this? Within the second one, the lady that kind of teleports or runs really fast and everything.
Yeah, we needed a little more WTF
some
off the wall.
weird whimsical thing where somebody floats in the air or something and then disappears. Some crap like that. It wasn't. I feel like this was more.
More grounded in reality.
More grounded in reality, and because we have all of these flashbacks and stuff talking about like the other characters' backstories and stuff, which is sometimes interesting. Sometimes it's like, all right, let's get back to the other bit.
And I lost track of the storyline with the lady who was supposed to be sold into the brothel, but he like took her torture for her, and I guess she got her freedom. Did she kind of disappear from the story at that point?
Yeah, she did. She totally did. She took off, and that was it. You know, like she kept asking him to do stuff for him, but it was like the fifth favor he had done for her.
And you can kind of tell with that this is like two manga arcs that they put together to make one movie, because you know that storyline there doesn't really flow through with the big fight we get at the end.
And I will say that this movie, more than the other two that we've seen, feels far more transitional than the other movies. It feels like they're going from, you know, the first arc of their story to the second arc of their story in this movie. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I could just feel it this time, and I did not feel that the last time.
I think that's probably part of why this one maybe gave me just a little bit less fun than the first two did. I mean, the first one just hit me as a total surprise.
Yes.
Then I was geared up for the second one, but it really amped things up. And then this one held true to form, but I feel like kind of like what Adam said, it didn't really introduce much new. The baby cart got escalated a little bit, but this one, though fun, maybe not the outstanding joy I had with the first two.
Well, the second one is kind of a miracle on its own, because it held us for the same level of excitement that the first one did.
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, that's rare even when you have $100 million budget. So to have them be so successful with that sequel, to then go into this one, and I still love it. I mean, I just love this movie. It is the weakest of the three we've seen. But even with that being said, it's still just a wonderful place, and I love being there.
Yeah, I think I'm a total sucker for this franchise at this
Me
point.
too.
And I saw that it continues through to like 1993, so we got plenty of stuff to cover.
Well, sort of.
Sort of. Okay.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, like that the biggest problem is that it just doesn't like feel as wild and contained as the other one. I think you're right, Sean. This is more of that kind of transition episode going from that one to the other. But they shot all these pretty close together because the kid's pretty much the same age throughout everything. I think most of these were released maybe in the same year. I think
the first three were 1972 is what I saw.
So,
but isn't that released in America that year?
Possibly.
This says release date in Japan was 1972.
Oh, wow. Really? I didn't understand that.
Yeah. Now I'm just reading Wikipedia, so it's not.
it's solid in stone. It is. That's what Wikipedia does. It is infallible in all ways.
Well, if it's the only information we have on the thing, I mean, we'll go with that information.
You just eventually had to do it. Two swords, man. Him finally getting like he's bad enough with one sword. You give him two swords, and it's just like, dude, he is. Of course, you could chop up every single person that's there. You get the fastest dude, who I still love. I don't know. It's always a silly trope, but the slicing stuff and then waiting, and then it falls. It's just it's awesome every single time. I don't know why.
And the way he can see through walls and throw knives at people that he should not have any idea they're there and stuff like that. I love it.
My razor fast, reflexes and everything.
throw a tiny little dagger to catch the hammer on the pistol so you can't shoot it.
He's a genius.
So cool.
It's fantastic. Now, with this in mind, what we've seen so far. I want to, before I do that one, just FYI for a little, those of you out there that may think about seeing this, there are some not so great stuff that if you're, sensitive to things, it may not be the best for you. Number one, like the other Lone Wolf and Cub movies, not for kids, this one.
No.
Yeah, none of them are for children.
Not quite as not for kids as the other ones in some ways, but
But this
At
one, I
least-
think, rolls into the violence against women a little bit more than the first
it
two.
does.
'Cause
Yeah,
you got the whole brothel subplot.
It's true, but they do get the sexual assaults out of the way fairly early, which is nice.
yeah.
And I couldn't help. I mean, it's awful because that was a scene where something terrible was happening, and all I could think is, what's up with that one lady's teeth?
Oh, you're right. Exactly.
But-
You're supposed to, but she was
but
the not so great one, right?
That's what they did. That's how geisha women look. They would blacken their teeth.
Well, I didn't know that, so it caught me way off guard.
Oh, I see.
Maybe that was done so people like me would save their money back then. I don't know. 'Cause that caught me off guard.
This is what they look like, man. My buddy described this way different. He didn't say anything about black teeth.
I thought you'd just been like eating a lot of some kind of fruit that really stains you.
Oh, she had some of that gum from Pee Wee's Big Adventure where it just kind of starts
Oh, she loves plums.
mucking up her mouth and everything, and it's like, oh, well, no one tell Gina that her teeth look bad.
If you've ever fallen into pokeberries, they'll stain you pretty good. So maybe she ate some of those.
Nobody knows what pokeberries are.
They're growing pokeberry bushes.
Oh, well, thanks for
I
clearing
see.
that up.
I see.
The bushes used to make poke salad.
Yes, of course, of course.
It's all
Of
coming
course.
clear
I'm
now.
not making any of this
I
up.
don't
Is the funny
know.
part.
I don't think that you are. I just think that this is one of those moments where your West Virginia is showing.
There were people that would like grow up and talk like that, and you had to like just kind of look at them as if everything is fine and that they're not speaking a foreign language from another planet.
Right.
You're just like,
Oh, you've
yeah.
never had a winky dinky dog? Looking at you like you're weird.
No, is it good? I bet it sounds. Yeah, that sounds super good. Just a darn shame we don't have any of them here for me to try. I guess that's just a. It is what it is, but maybe next time we'll get dinky dogs. Get out of here with that mess. And somebody's tongue gets bit off, so you got that going for you. So keep your
That
I
tongue
think
part-
he
out.
dies from that, doesn't he? Like his tongue gets bitten off and he bleeds so much he dies because she was
As-
accused of murder.
It happens.
As the resident medical expert on the show, is that something that would happen?
I don't think so.
No.
I think you'd bleed a whole lot, but like if you're bleeding out of your tongue, man, you got to
Well,
go for
yeah,
days.
I'm not asking you.
I don't think it would have. I don't think you'd die from that, at least not as quickly as he did.
Okay.
I may not be a professional doctor, but I'm a pro-am, all right? Just give me a break.
But I do listen to a lot of podcasts.
I listen to a lot of podcasts, do a little bit of YouTube and stuff. I feel like I've got a pretty good
Oh my
grasp on
God.
technology and the world around.
If we have not learned anything in this decade, it is the level of misinformation that has been fed to us. Oh my Lord.
Well, what's the ginger ale's just Coke and Sprite combined? Keep it in mind, everybody.
Yeah.
All right, before we get to our final review here and everything, we do have to ask ourselves one very important question: is how this movie, in the third in the series, relates back 1-to-1 with Sylvester Stallone.
Why, thank you, Adam. I have a prepared statement. What's going on, Mr. Stallone? This week, I'm going to be talking about your movie Rambo First Blood Part 2. Why? Because there's a scene in your movie where you're flying a helicopter, looking awesome as always, and you're speaking to your best and only friend, Colonel Troutman. And while you were doing so, you used the call sign Lone Wolf. Now, maybe Lone Wolf is a common phrase during that time, but it's my belief that the phrase was made common by the manga and the movies Lone Wolf and Cub. Now, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt here and guess that you didn't know about the existence of one of the 5 Lone Wolf and Cub movies because you're an old white guy and you were roughly my age when you made Rambo First Blood Part 2. And if it were put into today's terms, me as a middle-aged white guy, I just learned about the existence of the Korean boy band BTS about 3 months ago. So the chances you knew about Lone Wolf and Cub is pretty slim. And we've spoken about the screenplay to Rambo First Blood Part 2 before on this show, so we already know that James Cameron wrote the first draft of that screenplay. And yes, it's entirely possible that he wrote it to make you look like a fool. And I'm not trying to start a massive Hollywood A-list feud here. But James Cameron is absolutely the type of person who would put a hidden Easter egg in a script for the sole purpose of making someone look like an idiot, especially someone that he feels wronged him and he isn't particularly happy that you changed his script all those years ago. Now, in the early 70s, while the Lone Wolf and Cub movies were being produced, you were just starting out in Hollywood. You had an uncredited role in Woody Allen's movie Bananas, which is a movie I used to like, but I'm afraid to watch now out of fear that I'll love it. And it'll make me want to watch more of that sex criminals movies. In 1973, you were in a movie that's now called No Place to Hide, but at the time it went by the name Rebel, which is a movie I'd never heard of before. I'm guessing it's hot garbage since no one ever speaks of its existence, and you are quite literally the only person I've ever heard of involved with the making of this movie. The year that the final Lone Wolf and Cub movie debuted in America was 1974, and that's the same year that you starred in Lords of Flatbush, which is the movie Henry Winkler credits as to where he learned to mimic you to become the Fonz. It's also the movie that turned you from guy with a walk-on role to actual working actor. Also, because of the timeline fits here, I'm going to guess that you were in the middle of writing the role that would eventually make you a world-famous person, Cosmo Carboni in the movie Paradise Alley. So not only do I think that you don't know about the existence of Lone Wolf and Cub, but I think you can be excused for not knowing about it because you were just too damn busy. So ultimately, who do I blame for this? No one really. It was probably happenstance. And if it was done on purpose, it's a nice nod to a series of movies that could use more eyeballs. Truly, I'm hoping it's a coincidence because that makes the world a little more magical and special, and that's a place where I want to live. And there you have it, Mr. Stallone. This week's Stallone Connection is your call sign in the movie Rambo First Blood Part 2. I would say I'll try better next week, but I did a really awesome job this week. You know what? I'll attempt to give next week the same level of effort.
Oh.
Thank you for listening. Your pal, Sweet Chauncey from the internet.
Stallone is he's putting a lot of cool things on like Instagram and everything.
I know, man. I've been following
that behind the scenes Paradise Alley of like a little young Stallone directing his first movie and everything. It's just like, I don't know, like some of those behind the scenes stuff. You're like, this guy had a heck of a life on him.
He sure has, and the fact that he's embraced, where he is in life, and he's proud of his kids and stuff. Like I like all of that stuff.
Oh yeah, his kids got podcasts and everything, and thanks.
Oh, I've never checked any of that out.
Thanks to his wife, all his girls are just gorgeous.
They are
Holy
gorgeous.
moly, that is a good looking family right there. And you're like, how did this mug get involved in any of this? But everyone else is just like, holy moly.
Now, just make a note somewhere that we need to watch the Bad News Bears go to Japan, the 1978 classic, because apparently Lone Wolf plays a baseball coach in that movie. So
get out of here. Really?
That's what I'm seeing.
Oh my.
All right.
Yes, please.
Putting that in the list. We'll just get that.
I love that first. Bad News Bears.
So we'll be we'll check that out then. All right, over here at Hero Movie Podcast, we have our own patented Robin rating system. If you'd like to check that out, head on over to the subreddit, reddit.com/r/Hero Movie Podcast. Right there at the top of the screen, Bruce, where does Lone Wolf and Cub, which is the name of this one again? They all kind of sound alike. Baby Cart to Hades. Where does that fall in the Robin rating system for you?
Well, like we said, just a little bit less than the first two, but still super fun, still super enjoyable as a whole. I love the franchise, but I'm going to go ahead and give this one a Tim Drake, just a notch below the Dick Graysons I'm pretty sure I gave the last two.
All righty, Sean.
When you're really into a show, like I haven't really been into a television show in a long time when it comes to sitcoms anyway, in a very long time. But I can remember when there was a show, like 30 Rock is the perfect example for me, where not every episode was great, but it was just such a joy to be back in that world again because it's a new episode and you don't know where the jokes are going. And It's just so fun. That is what this feels like to me, this franchise, where, this one, it is not the best one, like Bruce said, but by God, it's great to be back in this world again. And so for me, it's a Dick Grayson. even though it's not the best one, I would absolutely recommend this to anybody. Where, look, you want something a little different, a little weird. Here is the franchise for you. Like it's fun and it looks great and it's interesting. And at times it makes literally no sense to your American eyes. But my word, it is a fun movie to watch. So for me, it's a Dick Grayson.
Yeah, and it's one that when you tell people, the right people will go like, oh, good for you, being, watching that and stuff like that. And the people that don't know, you can be that person that then introduces them to that. It's like, no, check this out. It's maybe up your alley. It's a little bit different. It's a little bit weird. That's certainly these movies. And this one is that, like you said, that transitional one. It's not as over the top and everything, but I don't know that it necessarily needs to. Like I said, I think my biggest complaint, and, maybe it's not as big a complaint, but like I said, with the just maddening amount of silence in this movie, or just, little nature sounds and everything, I found myself, now I also didn't get a lot of sleep last night, so to also take that into account, but I kind of found myself nodding just a little bit because it was so peaceful. It was so serene. But it's one of those also that, like, if you just wait and your TV's up loud enough, you'll be awakened with the screams of people, shooting blood all the way across the screen. And
it's the
if that's
falling
what you're
asleep
looking
to Mystery
for.
Science Theater problem, right?
Exactly. It's just like, oh, this is
Right.
just kind of so nice. This is, here we are, and this, oh, we're killing people. Everything's on fire.
Man,
It's great.
my friend, one of my oldest friends, his wife, it gets so angry with him because whenever people are staying at their place, he's like, hey, sorry, this is back when he lived in New York City. He'd be like, hey, you got to sleep on the couch because, that's the way this is going to work. Sorry. And he would every time put in the Transformers movie. And because he knows, one, it'll knock you out no matter how fired up you are, it's going to knock you out. But the reason why she hated it is that eventually you're going to hit that menu. And every time you hit the menu, it wakes everybody up in the house because it'll just be like, like random, like I am Optimus Prime, like stuff like that. But then it'll go Transformers and wakes everybody up in the house. And
Yet another reason why VHS was always better than DVD.
It makes her insane.
That was the best, is that you'd get to the end and it would just quietly rewind itself and everything. You might wake up with that, but you'd also be able to look up and go like, all right, whatever, and then just continue to sleep. Not today. You got to find that remote in the dark and go, quick, get off. So, did I rate it?
I don't know.
No, you have not.
Oh, I think I did that last week too. Tim Drake for me. It's good. It's super fun. It's not amongst the best ones, but I feel like the next one is going to be that kind of pendulum swing in that right direction to get it going because, we got 3 more films to get to hell?
Something like that.
I believe so. I believe there's 3 more. Yeah.
So,
And then that classic 1993 film we're going to watch.
so join us in 4 years for that 1990. But we'll be doing more of these as the years go on. So it feels like this one came around super fast because I can't believe how much of the last movie I actually remember. So. Yeah,
me too, man. But we are middle-aged men. Like that's the way time works.
So super fast stuff. All right, so we will. That's it. We're going to talk about what we're going to talk about in just a second here. But Bruce, where can we find more of your work on the internet?
I just want to remind people that Anime IO, another podcast I do, is still out there. And you may want to check it out if you haven't listened to it in a while, because we've added a third voice to the show. A name you guys might recognize. Mm-hmm. Matthew Vandiver is has been the third voice lately. And, it's a longtime supporter of Hero Movie Podcast. And then he's also been very cool over there on Anime IO, bringing some of that solid anime knowledge he has. So I appreciate that very much. Check it out if you haven't in a while.
Very nice.
That's awesome. And how did you just pronounce his last name? It sounds different than the one.
It's not sure if that's correct. I'm not sure if that's correct, but I think it's Vandiver.
Next time he's on that show, you gotta ask him.
I've asked him twice. I hate to keep asking.
Listen, as a portress, I get plenty where I got to just be like, all right, whatever, it's close enough, and you just kind of go along with it. Sean, what else?
We have a show that we do that's a podcast, and it is called The Book of Boba Fett 30 Questions, where every single week we ask 30 questions of the latest episode of The Book of Boba Fett. And wouldn't you know it, that's the very next show that we're going to record as soon as we press stop on this bad boy.
It's amazing. And here's the thing. If you watch the first couple of episodes of Boba Fett and you're like, maybe not so much, and you really like The Mandalorian, maybe you might want to jump back on board.
Yes. I mean, you've heard, I mean, I'm guessing that if you're just your typical nerd, you've heard what's going on over there. And like, you really should check it out, even if you have just a passing interest in Star Wars, because it's going to change your life, quite honestly. And it's amazing.
Yeah. And of course, check me out on the Film Find. I saw Jackass Forever this week and a couple other little silly things, and we'll talk about that. So check that out over at the Film Find. That'll do it for this episode. Join us next week when we're going to be talking about 2 episodes of Count Duckula, which is something that I loved when I was a kid. I think it has one of the best theme songs of any cartoon of all time. And we'll be playing a lot of that next week. And we're going to be covering 2 episodes. They're currently available on YouTube as we're recording this. Count Duckula, Dr. Goosewing, and Mr. Duck. That's one episode. And the other episode is No Sex, Please, We're Egyptian. And all of those will be available on YouTube as of right now. Watch them take them off in the next 45 seconds. And
that's how our life goes.
And then you're like, oh, well, you can get that Count Duckula. You just need to buy the $450 German Blu-ray.
Yeah. It's just going to cost you $75 per episode.
Yeah.
But it's convenient, you know? You can do it online. Why not? So that is it, everybody. Join us next week when we're talking Count Duckula for Sweet Sean Zakovac from the Internet. Bruce Leslie, I'm Adam Porter. Stay super, everybody.
I'm Marty and Evie.
I was wondering what that was.
That was very scary.
Is that pinky ring-ish, the legend of Masket? Shoot out the speakers with my guns, get Jurassic. Super bad, who am I? Dolomite classic. The band who's back, hands on Angela Bassett. I handle my plastic, hey, I'm blasted. No pork or mixed down with this hat on record. Broken down and crafted in seconds. Ladies' choice, the golden boy still peppered. Better respect it, if believe. I pull rabbits out the hat, tricks up my sleeve. I air out the showroom, the ish can breathe. Fix your weave, you know my expertise.
I got my piece, who back, you do this whack face at the woo was back. I got my piece, who back, you do this whack face at the woo was back.
Take it back to the vehicles, leaning, getting wrecked on points. We in them authentic alley switching joints. Major generals getting 5-star. Both arms rock when drop. We read 100 against palms. Silencers, garbage ass. For every cop we paid, but tired now. They're looking on smash. Gas you out your fast and sway down. Hating me now, respect. Get your fingers off the glass.
I got my piece, who back, you do this whack face at the woo was back. I got my piece, who back, you do this whack face at the woo was back.
Yo, what the yo, what the y'all coming for? Get the away from my door. We got big nugs in here, over there with blue backs. So if he eat that's under the chin, there's sports hard black and white pig with the pink lips. Stan thought he was soft till he bit his fingers. This shit had me dying, yo. Big fat fucking bleeding, big cat looking all season. On the beach truck, stuck with wine, ice diamond twice. The whole city thought I bought FUBU, blew you, authentic doodle. Picture the fork, iced out, 18 karat wrap between noodles.
I got my piece, who back, you do this whack face at the woo was back. I got my piece, who back, you do this whack face at the woo was back.
Up for headquarters, 4 whips just poured up. I saw Johnny sipping Henny from an iced out cup with the blood. 2-way vibrating off the hip. I said, three drags off that honey dip. And what you talking? You see my gold fun sparking? Ain't trying to hear what you dogs be barking. Read the headline that was blast on today's post. Dead King thought he could ace ghosts. Queen couldn't even jack monk. Probably find them in Doc Dool's black trunk. I'm up in the Wu Library, reading Malcolm's any means necessary.
John Bacardi straight up hold the ice. So nice like New York, they had to name them twice. Name your price, I black out and change the lights. Give you the same advice that I gave my wife. I'm up with mine, clan give you lumps and 9. Let the smoke cloud clear so the sun can shine. Culture shock, for some of us that's all we got. Whether you ball or not, you can all
New York, legendary rhyme boss, code name Charlie Horse. Bust with blind force, I smash, set it and wreck for cash crack.
predator check. You crash test, can't measure the threat. I dance on the end like my name's at Judah. Rap Barracuda, 3XL Kahuna. Sure to get it perkin' and cause a disturbance. I'm thirsty. Feel what I feel, then we can merge it. Creeping through the states in V8s and 12s. My weight's held, up with me, then brace yourself. The noble, Sir I Mass Mogul. Known to blast vocals and move global on you local.
This is grown man talking. Coward, I'll split your head. I'm from the east where the streets run red from the bloodshed. His chef for the rice and peas. No respect, Father, eat some with at ease. My brothers can't wait to squeeze the admin all. They need wreck like a drug dealer need a hat. Floating on a 95, sting like a killer bee. Your hands can't hit what your eyes can't see.
From dark matter to the big crunch, the vocals came in a bunch without one punch. Rare glimpse from the swiftly advanced, proved unstoppable. Reputation enhanced since the chords was probable. So you compare and contrast, but don't blast through extreme depth. With a pen to hold fast. Watch the block thirst for one, became all. Shot him with the long forgotten rainfall. Delivered in a brutal fashion with simplicity. The blind couldn't verify the authenticity. The rhyme came from the pressure of heat. Then it was laid out on the ground and paved streets.
I got my these little back and dudes. This whack face at the woo was back. I got my these little back and dudes. This whack face at the woo was back.